Why does it take such a long time to watch a movie with crypto?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Because he likes to put the movie on pause.
Ah,
Happy holiday weekend, and welcome to the greatest DC Comics show on YouTube. You found Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. It's great to have you here, and we hope that you've been enjoying the weekend. Where I'm at, it is currently a wet one. We have a thunderstorm going through. We've had a lot of showers the last couple days, and thunderstorm currently rolling through, but we will enjoy it and have fun. I will say hello to the rest of our panel, starting with Comic Food 2814. How are you?
Going well. How's it going, everyone?
Good. It's great to have you here. And missing some serious facial hair, we welcome Signature King Tony Fett. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. Did it fall off today, or
It fell off a couple days ago.
a couple days ago? You just woke up and it
Just
fell
woke up.
off.
Yep. Boom. Gone.
Yeah, you're walking down the hallway and just fell.
Yeah, I'm more aerodynamic. I'm getting better mileage now.
Yeah, very good. Well, good. Everyone have a good week. Good holiday weekend so far.
So far, yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky for me, it's not over yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
one more day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Some of us work today. Some of us are working tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Yeah, some of us are. And if you're watching at home and had to work, our salute to you and our hats off to you. So, what's going on with DC Comics news?
Big Green Lantern news. Huge Green Lantern news. They have their writers. They have their writers, so that's good. Among them is Tom King. We'll see. I agree. I don't think this is a good choice. Not that I dislike Tom King in any way. I met the guy a million times. Think he's a good dude, but his style of writing, just I can't see it fitting very well in the Green Lanterns. But I could be wrong, and I could be absolutely blown away. So I'm fully prepared to eat my words. So,
Well, and he hasn't done anything with Green Lantern so far, right?
Yeah, mostly just Batman and Wonder Woman. Well, the Wonder Woman is really good, so a lot of people seem to like his Wonder Woman more than they like his Batman. So maybe people will like his Green Lantern more than his Wonder Woman.
Not me.
Yeah.
Don't you think your opinion might be slightly biased?
No.
No.
Nope. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't too excited with the news.
Including they have the guy who helped write the script for the Watchmen, Damien Lindelof.
Okay.
So he helped do the script for Watchmen, and also the guy who wrote Ozark. It's a pretty good show.
Oh yeah.
Chris Mundy. So.
But don't you worry that Tom King will end up going like the Jeff Johns route, and then I can't write comic books anymore because I'm a screenwriter now, and
right.
And that's okay. I mean, I get it. You can't. It's probably hard to do both. You probably have to pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm sure we know which one pays better.
Yeah. Hey, I wouldn't know what to do if I had to go comic books or writing movies and TV shows. I'd probably go TV shows. You're right, because I got kids. But
incidentally, we didn't mention this last week on Fanboys, but it's worth bringing up since I kind of mentioned the Jeff Johns. You know how many times we talked about the delays that his Justice Society of America title has had and continues to have. So that was supposed to be an ongoing comic book. DC has decided to end it at 12 and make it a 12-issue limited series that took, 2.5 to 3 years to get through. But that was supposed to be an ongoing book. So the final decision has been made that they are going to end that with issue 12.
Well, it's like Doomsday Clock too, right? And 3 Jokers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 3 Jokers, they had to write 3 issues, and they still couldn't put it out on time.
Right.
But it still looks like Green Lanterns is still focused on Hal Jordan and John Stewart. So,
okay,
we'll see. I'm still excited for it. I'm still very excited for it. What about you, Mr. Fu?
We'll see. They've got to kind of earned some of my trust back, I think.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I'm still gonna watch it, even if it's one of those shows where it's like, even if it's not like the greatest show, I'm probably still gonna watch it.
Yeah,
Like Walking Dead. I was done with that show after like season 4, but I still finished it.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'll watch it for sure.
Well, in the Take My Money department,
yes,
the 2025 Collector's Edition calendar, as DC Comics celebrates 90 years, has been officially announced. And doesn't look too bad. You're going to get some stickers with it. You're going to get some at least reimagined artwork of classic artwork, sort of redone. Let me show you some examples. Like here, they kind of took some of these images and made them into postage stamps as the January image for 2025. Took some of the different Wonder Woman throughout the years and put those together. There's some of the stickers that you can get. And it looks like it's a big box set, essentially.
Yeah.
With some posters that you can, after the month is done, you can make those into posters too. It's due out July 22nd, $31.99, the MSR suggested price. So
nice.
Yeah. So the one of the ones I definitely wanted to talk about was James Gunn, kind of talking about these Elseworld stories he really wants to do. And they brought on the subject of what story would they like to do for Wonder Woman. It's a one movie, its own little. It's not gonna like a trilogy or whatever. One standalone movie he would like to do for Wonder Woman, and he surprisingly said Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah, which I think would be really cool. Wonder Woman Dead Earth would be a lot of fun.
Dead Earth, I thought, was an amazing series. I liked the writing more than I liked the artwork, and the writer and artist were the same.
Yeah.
So it's hard to.
Who did that one again? I forget.
Danny Warren Johnson, I believe. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that get the treatment. But and I also have to say too, unlike the other big two, Wonder Woman doesn't have a lot of classic or iconic stories that are much remembered or loved. She just didn't. So there's not a lot really to choose from. And, one of the stories that comes to mind is The Contest, but The Contest is about someone else becoming Wonder Woman. So it's not even so much about her,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. When it comes to, standalone Wonder Woman Elseworld story, I always think of stories, but Wonder Woman's just part of the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no, like there's Batman by Gaslight. There's no...
Right.
Wonder Woman version of that. Superman has a version, but there's no Wonder Woman version, which is sad because I feel like that's an endless possibility to explore.
Yeah. So while you're talking about these Elseworlds, I don't know. I guess this qualifies as Elseworld. Tell me if I'm wrong on this. But Batman: The Long Halloween has been announced that there will be a final chapter to that, even though the Tim Sale has passed away, and he passed away in 2022. They are going to do Batman: The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween. And that's it's going to be available for pre-order starting on June 14th and then should be in comic book stores September 25th.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I can actually show you, I believe this is the cover for it.
Oh, very
Looks
cool.
like it's going to be a 10 issue.
Oh, that's a nice cover. I like that one.
Yeah. Here's issue 2.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to do the a Superman or a Wonder Woman version of the Batman had that villain run. I already forgot the name of it.
One Bad Day.
One Bad Day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They need to do that for Wonder Woman and Superman because I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When did they do that?
That was not
2 years
last year,
ago?
but the year before.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Those
some great covers came out of that.
But I'll tell you, the first one that they did, because they're all one-shot standalones. The first one they did was Riddler. And at that time, I was working at the comic store. And I I had so many people tell me this is the best Riddler story I've ever read in my entire life. It takes him from being just a Batman villain to a badass Batman villain. So when I read the book, I was so impressed with it. It's Tom King once again. And he did win an Eisner Award for it, but I was so impressed with it. It probably was my favorite comic book I read that entire year. That's how much I liked it. It was really well done. The other ones well done as well, but it seemed that Riddler one, and Tom King only did that one. I don't think he did any of the other. It was different creative teams.
Yeah.
But that Riddler one really was the where one went. The other ones are good, but that one was just amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. I also want to say hi real quick to some folks who joined us in the live chat. I Collect a Lot was the first one in. Awesome to have you here.
How's it going?
We say hello to Kenneth Bird, our bird man, our bird watcher. He's our bird watcher. Oh my God, that is so odd. I just thought of that now. He's the bird watcher.
He's the Birdman. He's Birdman.
He's the bird watcher. We have John's Comics with Kids. Now, he's got a YouTube community member hanging with him. I don't know if he's with him at the present moment, but Old Wolf, Tony Old Wolf, is out John's way, and they've been doing some live streams together, which has been fun to watch.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Very cool.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. Yeah, we don't want to forget those folks. God bless them. And thank you for mentioning that. And we'll say hello to Gore, who has joined us. I hope that you're having a good weekend as well.
I still have my old Stetson from when I served in the cavalry. When you get to I was in the cavalry in the army. When you get deployed, on a combat mission, in my case, I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. You get your Stetson. So
wow,
yeah.
Now, did you have to wear that in Iraq?
You don't have to. No, you definitely don't wear it in actual combat, but it's mostly for dress. But
right,
I still got my Stetson, my spurs, all that good stuff. I still have my helmet.
So, and also when you were dancing in Canada too, as a Mountie, you used that hat.
I definitely
back in your dollar bill days.
Dollar bill. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I heard the United States National Guard in Baltimore, Maryland. Sure, makes sense. Baltimore is, the city of peace and prosperity.
Yeah.
Also known as the Detroit of the East Coast.
Any other news to cover today?
Not that I know of. No, it's been humdrum. I know we're getting pretty close to San Diego Comic-Con, so I anticipate a lot of.
Yeah, I think people are saving a lot of stuff for that because that's expected. Stuff to come out during that.
Yeah. So who knows? I know I'm very excited for it.
Well, as we segue into a retro review, I'm actually going to ask this question here at the beginning before we start into the review because I mentioned it last week. There is a Watchmen movie that we have acknowledged. There is a Watchmen TV series, which I believe is the same story, just broken up into different installments. It isn't.
I don't think so.
Set the record straight. What is that? Or
it's like a different universe type thing.
Oh, it is. Is it an original story or is it an adaptation of a comic book?
No, I think it's an original story.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
See, that goes to show how little I know about this world. So.
And then there's the animated Blu-ray that came out at the time of the movie, and that's the backup story in the comics. Yes,
which I know that I covered part of that last week in my retro review. So,
right.
Okay. Makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, and for those of you who haven't seen the movie, obviously I recommend so.
And that was Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I think Lasso said he was going to wait until we finished a review, but yeah, it's worth it. You're going to love it, I promise.
It's very good.
Cool.
Yep.
So, Comic Food 2014, we're halfway through, and we're beginning our last half, which we'll do 3 tonight and 3 next week to wrap this up for the Watchmen Retro Review. So this would be issue 7 then.
Yep.
You want to go ahead and take it away?
All right. So this issue starts out with Owlman here. Not Owlman. What's his name? What's his name? Do you remember, Tony?
Nite Owl.
Nite Owl. Thank you.
Nite Owl says the man who knows nothing about the Watchmen.
Right. Yeah. So so Nite Owl is here with again, I can't remember her name either.
Laurie.
But Laurie? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
She's the new Silk Spectre.
Yes, the new Silk Spectre. Thank you. So Nite Owl and Silk Spectre are here, and she's checking out his version of the Bat Cave, right? And she comes across his flying machine, and she gets in, and she takes a look around, and what does she do? She starts pressing buttons. And so that goes about as you would imagine. She's looking for a cigarette lighter, and so she hits the fire button, and it activates the flamethrower. So Nite Owl comes, hears the commotion. He goes running down. He's thinking of what Rorschach told him about somebody killing all the superheroes. So that's on his mind. He thinks she's in danger. He gets down there and he's like, wait, what's going on? And she's like calling for the fire extinguisher. And she's basically all apologetic. He's like, oh, it's no big deal. I shouldn't have left it on. I was down here tinkering earlier. Right. So, so he actually takes her in and starts showing her around the whole place. They're looking at all the memories from the past when they were a superhero team, remembering that. And he actually invites her into the flying machine that he's got. And you can see he holds onto her hand for a little too long, and she calls him out on it. And he's all shy and embarrassed. And so he starts going around showing her all the parts of the ship, right? And she's looking at all of his like aquatic suit, the radiation suit, things like that. He's telling her about all the things that it can do, like air-to-air missiles. She's like, air-to-air missiles, and she's thinking back to like when she was clicking the buttons, and she's realizing, she's like, wow, I really could have gotten in trouble there. So again, it's a lot of dialogue. I'm just kind of blowing through it here, but essentially they're catching up. She's learning about just how technical his mind is, and how she's amazed that he's built all of this himself to fight crime. So they go walking off. Yeah, he's still showing her more of his stuff. It's just a conversation back and forth there. In fact, he's even surprised that she's so interested in this stuff, and she's like, yeah, I am. And so he shows her his goggles that can see in the dark, and she's again just amazed by those. He actually asks her about Dr. Manhattan, like, do you miss him? And she's like, no, I really don't. It was never like a real relationship. He was there, but he was never really there. It wasn't like real human contact. So you can see what's happening. He's starting to think that he's got a shot with her. So you see this middle panel there. He starts putting his arm around her, and that's when she starts going on about how she really just enjoys being by herself and her time alone. And so very quickly there, he pulls his hand back from her back and kind of like fusses with his hair, and she calls him out on it again. It's really funny.
Yeah, she knows he wants to stir the spaghetti sauce.
Exactly. So, but he's too chicken to make his move. And so instead they go upstairs again, continue their conversation some. She starts asking him questions, and he's talking about how he really likes what is it, like ornithology, like the study of birds, and how whenever he starts talking about it, people always stop listening to him. And just then she's like, shh, she's watching the news on TV, ignoring him. So we basically see that Rorschach, he's been arrested, right? And so they're interviewing people, seeing just how the public feels about this. Everybody's kind of up in arms over all of this. talking about the jury. At the same time, the Russians are invading Afghanistan, and so this is like the threat of war is all over the news, and they're kind of talking about that as well, and their fears with all of that. And they're also observing that, hey, Dr. Manhattan, he's left, he's gone off to Mars, and the comedian's dead, and none of the superheroes are left. Rorschach's in jail. Things are starting to look a little weird here. Then on the news, we see that they're searching for this missing writer, Max Shea. And he's actually the guy that wrote the comic book about the hooded basilisk. That's the kind of that backup story we were talking about. So as they're watching TV, they begin to kind of fool around there on the couch, as you can see. We're also learning there's interesting things going on the news in the background. We can see like they think that they've found a way to like basically create this like portal to search for extra dimensional energy sources. And here's where Silk Spectre, she ends up making her move first, and she kisses him. This is kind of a funny scene. On the news again, they've got Ozymandias. Is that how you say it?
Osmandius.
Ozymandias. He's doing this performance on the background in the news, or on the TV, I should say. Kind of like gymnastics and stuff. As again, they get ready to stir the spaghetti sauce. But and it's really awkward. They're like, his elbow's getting in her stomach, and then he's asking her to move. They're very clunky at it. It's funny. And just when they're getting to the moment, let's just say it doesn't go so well for him, right? He's got some performance issues. So so that's fine. They decide they're just going to go to sleep, right? They're going to go to bed. And that's what they do. They fall asleep, and he has this nightmare where they are again getting together, and then there is this nuclear blast, and they are just obliterated. And
Looks
that's how he
they're
wakes
doing
up.
The dance with no pants.
The dance with no pants, yes. So he wakes up, and he's really rattled by this dream. He's still thinking about it here, and he goes down to his workshop again, and he starts trying on all of his stuff, and he's really reminiscing about being a superhero again. He's thrown off by all that's happened this dream, and she comes downstairs looking for him, and he ends up telling her about the dream. And it's kind of funny because they're awfully comfortable with each other. He's just kind of walking around in the nude, and he starts talking about how he's just worried with all the events of the news. He's starting to think Rorschach might be right, that somebody's trying to kill the superheroes. And he starts talking about like the fact that his flying ship here, it's invisible to radar. And remember, they're not supposed to be superheroes anymore, right? Like because of that act of Congress. But he's like, wouldn't it be fun? And she's like, well, let's do it. It's radar invisible. Let's go. And so he's like, okay, she talked him into it. They go and they suit up, and they get ready to go out on the town. They take this ship out. It comes out of this warehouse that he owns a few blocks away, and it uses dry ice to create like this smoke cloud to shield the fact that it's coming out of this building, I guess. And no sooner do they get going, and they notice there's this fire. And so they stop to see if they can do anything to help. And they decide that the best thing they can do is evacuate all of the people in the burning building onto the ship. And so that's what they do. They get close enough. She, in her skimpy little outfit there, goes out to the plank there and helps all of the people get in. You can see them coming into the ship there. Once they're in the ship, he flies them away, and but he does it. He puts music on for them, and he invites them to have a cup of coffee in the back. And so that's what they do. So they're basically providing hospitality to these victims of this fire. Finally, get them to safety and let all of them off, and they go back on their own. They're both so just energized over getting to do something heroic again after all of these years. This is what finally causes Nite Owl to make his move now, and this time the performance issues are not to be had. So yeah, up here floating in the clouds with their dry ice cloud maker, you can see they finally get back to business there, and well, there you go. It's a success. So in fact, she even asked if it was good, and he's like, "Uh-huh." So there you go. He basically, it gave him the confidence that he needed, and they're realizing he comes up with one final idea now that he's got all of his confidence again. He's like, "I'm thinking we should spring Rorschach," and she's like, "What?" And that's how it ends. So pretty fun issue.
Do you want to do the quote? We've kind of been doing the end quotes on each one. So do you want to do that?
Yeah, so this is from Job, chapter 30, verses 29-30. I am a brother to dragons and a companion to owls. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. And you can see the doomsday clock there as it ticks closer and closer to midnight. All right, so on to issue number 8. I think you've got this one, Lasso.
Yeah, so if you take a look, we kind of got this golden statuette on the cover, and as we go into the first page of the story, that's the first thing that you're seeing is this golden statuette, and that's the original Nite Owl, and Hollis Mason was the original Nite Owl, and he's picking up the phone, and he's calling Sally Jupiter. You might remember she's the original Silk Spectre, and she's in that nursing home way back in the first, in our first installment. I had her because her daughter is Laurie, who is now the new Silk Spectre. Well, Hollis calls her, and at first she doesn't know who he is, and she's a little surprised when she realizes it's him, and she's like, "Well, you've had my number for all these years, and you've never called me until now." And and they reminisce a little bit. He asks her, "Do you ever put on your old costume?" And she says no, and she says, "What about you?" And he says, "Well, no, not really. But Halloween's coming up next week. Maybe I will do it then." So they start to talk about that rescue that was made by apparently the new Nite Owl and the new Silk Spectre. I mean, he knows that it's them, although it hasn't been confirmed by the media. And they're both kind of surprised, but they're also happy to know that their proteges, and in the case for Sally, it's her daughter Laurie, are back in costume again. And of course, then on the bottom panel, we have the little kids out in the neighborhood are getting ready for trick or treat, which is coming up in a few days. So on our next page, we're talking a little bit here about death. And this is one of the pages that I had a hard time with, because I know that we have the newspaper, the man who has the newspaper stand, and he's talking about the latest news about Rorschach being in prison, and he attacks some other prisoner with hot fat, and they're like, "Oh my God." And he talks about how he used to actually shop at this stand as well. And then there's some talk too about a wife that used to be, that had passed away, and today was their anniversary. Although I don't know who that ties back to. That one I'm still a little stumped with. Then as we continue the story, we move on to the next page. We are back with Laurie and Dan. And, since he brought up at the end of last issue about freeing Rorschach from the Sing Sing prison, over the course of this page and the next page, they're talking about how exactly would they do that. Dan also starts to say, "Well, Laurie, you live with Dr. Manhattan. John, you didn't get cancer." And everyone's saying that he's the cause of the cancer, but you didn't get it. So how could that be? And is getting rid of Dr. Manhattan really the start of World War III? And then they're discussing their old life, if they used to enjoy wearing their costumes and the old route that they used to take as well. And just a little bit of reminiscing in these couple pages. So now we're going into the Sing Sing prison for the next 2 pages, where there's this prison dwarf-sized gangster. He's going to visit Rorschach, and he wants revenge. And he was put away by Rorschach and Nite Owl. over 20 years ago, and he's still obviously holding a grudge. And they're telling him, this other prisoner that you attacked with this hot fat, you scalded him, and he's going to die from this. And when that happens, there's going to be a massive riot in this prison. And when that happens, we are coming to kill you. And then they kind of leave Rorschach to stop and think about that. So on our next page, we have Dan is being visited by the police. Laurie happens to be in the shower at this time. They're asking questions about Edward Blake, and they're asking questions about the tenement fire. And they do happen to mention, oh, you have sugar cubes. And they say, aren't those only available in catering packs, right? And then they're like, oh, and did you know that when we arrested Rorschach, he had sugar cubes on him as well? And, he's not taking the bait by anything that they're saying, but obviously they're doing some fishing around. And on the next page, there's some metaphors put in place as they start to look at the calendar ahead. Some people, like to look ahead and see what's about to happen. Other people want to be surprised at what life kind of hands them. And eventually they leave, and Laurie comes in. She says she's overheard the last part of their conversation and just kind of asked what happened. So on our next page, what I like that's going to start on this page and it's going to continue through the next several pages, at the bottom of each page, we're going to jump back to Laurie and Dan, because they've realized at this point they have to get Rorschach out of this prison. So you're going to start seeing them getting ready for that. But above that, what we have is a newspaper getting ready to put their headlines together. They're talking about the missing writer, which Fu mentioned during his last issue. And they're just getting this newspaper ready to get printed. So then on our next page, we actually touch base with that missing writer, Max Shea. And then there's this painter, Hira Manish, and they're talking about an old squid-like creature that she's sketching. She's being prepared to be transported on a beach in a distance. And then according to Max Shea's words, they've been kept on the island by paranoid movie companies. So that's just like a little thread that's left to dangle. And then down below, we see Laurie, getting the owl ship all gassed up and getting ready to go. On our next page, it's actually Hollis Mason, who's now preparing his pumpkin for Halloween. He's carving it, getting it ready on the news. We're getting more headlines about Rorschach, and we're also finding out that now that prisoner that he scalded with that hot beef fat or whatever had died from his injuries. And then at the bottom of the page, looks like Laurie and Dan are ready to take off. So on our next page, this is kind of the general public talking, and we're back over by the newsstand again. And people are saying nuclear war is now 10 days away, and there's a little panic and hysteria about what's going on. In the meantime, down below with Dan and Laurie and the owl ship, it's taken off, and they're getting ready to start heading to Sing Sing. So now we're back into the prison, and the big fight's broken out as it's been predicted, and Big Figure and his goons, Mike and Larry, they're coming for Rorschach. At the bottom of the page, it's been confirmed we got Dan and Laurie leaving in the owl ship. So on our next page then, we stay in the prison in Sing Sing. And we have the goons making their moves on Rorschach. And Rorschach ties one of their hands so he can't get in there. And then the leader that that I talked about, he says, kill him, kill his own goon. And they're kind of shocked for a second that would happen, but that's exactly what he does. He slits his throat and the blood lands all over Rorschach as he stands there. Down below, we see the owl ship appears to have landed or is about to make a landing down in the prison. So we're getting back and forth here in real time of what's going on. So it's spotted there. The guards see, first of all, they got a problem with a riot going on. Now it looks like someone's breaking into this prison. And it's Dan and Laurie, the Silver Spectre and Nite Owl. And they are starting to enter into the complex. So jumping back to Rorschach's cell, The other goon that's left now uses this welding torch to open the door to try to get in, and he's going to threaten Rorschach. But Rorschach breaks the toilet and lets the water flow out, so that makes contact with the frayed power cable of the welder and then electrocutes him. I was like, whoa. And Big Figure is staring at this in like absolute horror. He's lost his two goons that are there to follow his orders, and he starts taking off, and Rorschach appears to be calmly walking behind him and following him. On the next page, we keep cutting between Silver Spectre and Nite Owl, who are going through the prison looking for Rorschach's cell in solitary. And then we keep cutting through with Rorschach following the man who tried to attack him. And then finally they do find the cell, and they believe that's where Rorschach was, but clearly he's gone now. And then they eventually see Rorschach, even though he's not in costume. They're able to recognize him by the way he's walking. Rorschach sees the Big Figure, who he's been kind of following, ducking into a bathroom at that point. And Rorschach says, well, on the next page, they confirm, they're like, we're here, we're going to rescue you, we're going to break you out of this prison, let's leave. And he says, I have to go to the bathroom first. And they're like, what the hell? What's going on? They don't know that Big Figure's in the bathroom. And what we see off panel is he goes in the bathroom, and when he finally comes out, there's a big pool of blood on the floor. So he has gone into the bathroom, and he has killed Big Figure. At this point now, they're making their way back to the Owl ship so they can get out of the prison. And although it's a little bit tough, they are able to make it out of there, and they start to leave in the Owl ship. They say that they need to stop back at Dan's house one last time. They know that the cops are going to be onto them now, just based on the conversation that Dan had with them. But he needs to stop back at the house one more time before they go. So when we get to the house, Laurie is flipping the calendar to November because it's an hour away. So we're on Halloween night, an hour away from it being over. And Laurie is then surprised when she sees Dr. Manhattan in the apartment saying hello to her. And she's like, I thought that you were on Mars. And he's like, well, I am. And you will be too, because we're about to have a conversation where you'll try to convince me to save the world. And she's just like not understanding what he's meaning. But they decide to teleport away. And Dan and Rorschach see this, and they realize that she's gone for the moment. And they have to get what they need and get out, because now the police are starting to break in. Luckily, they're just about a step ahead of the police, and they're able to get back into the Owl ship and flee just before the police arrive just a moment too late to see them taking off. So now we're looking at the news of Rorschach's escape and how the world is reacting to that, and they're not reacting to it very well. And at the bottom of the page, you see this group, like this gang, that are going to take out some of the frustrations that they have. So on our following page is another page. It's probably the page that I struggle with the most in terms of what was going on here. I don't know if you guys can add any insight to this or not, but it looks like it's just kind of a general reaction from the public, perhaps, on Rorschach's escape, maybe? Okay.
I'm not sure offhand.
Okay.
But yeah, I think essentially, Law and Order is breaking down at this point.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So we have this gang. They believe that Hollis Mason is Nite Owl, who just freed Rorschach. Even though Hollis Mason was Nite Owl at once, not the Nite Owl who is now and who freed him, but they decide they're going to go kill him. And while they're going there, we get some flashbacks to Nite Owl Hollis Mason back in his Nite Owl days, in his younger days, and we keep flashing back and forth as this gang violently attacks him. Hollis originally thought that it was the kids coming to trick or treat, and that's what he thought. And then we see, as we get into the last page, how that statue that we saw on the cover and on the very first panel of today's issue comes back into play, because the statue's grabbed, and that's the final thing that they beat him to death with. Once they realize that he's dead, this gang flees the scene, and the group of trick-or-treaters, show up and find Hollis Mason's body. And then our quote ends with, "On Halloween, the old ghosts come about us, and they speak to some, to others they are dumb." I think that's Eleanor Farjeon. I probably mispronounced the last name.
Interesting.
All right.
And I want to say hi to Ben Compton, who has joined us too.
So, ending here our retro review, I have issue 9. This one is actually, it's a short story, but they really drag out kind of the detail in here for some reason. But whatever. So we cut back to Rorschach and Laurie are in Dan's apartment for a brief second, and Rorschach is telling like we're out of here, peace, deuces, and then boom, they're on Mars. And Dr. Manhattan's like, here we are, like, what do you think? Isn't it beautiful? In the meantime, let me see if I can zoom in here. Laurie can't breathe. She is on Mars. And it takes him a second to like figure it out. Like, she's falling down. She can't stand up. There's no oxygen. She can't do anything. And he's like, what's wrong? And he's just like, oh, duh. Yeah, I can't breathe. So he finally he says something's like this slipped my mind. And finally she can breathe. And she's like, oh my gosh. Could have died. Thanks for that. Air supply, number one priority for anyone coming to Earth, from Earth to Mars. FYI for next time. And there we have the big glance at the I want to say temple or palace or castle that Dr. Manhattan has made on Mars. It's pretty nice. I like it. But yeah, they go inside and Dr. Manhattan is really questioning Laurie on her relationship with Dan, and how Dr. Manhattan, he's done with Earth. He's done with humanity. He's gonna let the Earth go. And Laurie's trying to convince him that that's not the right thing. You have to save people. People are worth fighting for. And Dr. Manhattan's like, how could you possibly, you say that you had this terrible childhood. Here, look at this snow globe that you had as a child. And, we cut back to like a visual or like a flashback to her where she has this snow globe. And it was a beautiful toy and castle inside, but she was up late and got caught by her dad and ended up getting smashed, and she got in big trouble. And Laurie's like, listen, like, yeah, he wasn't even my real dad. He's just a father figure. But yeah, he was a jerk, but he's totally worth, like, humankind is worth saving. I don't, and they're having this back and forth about whether or not Dr. Manhattan should save the Earth. We cut back again to Laurie when she was, a kid working out, and her mother was the first still Silk Spectre, and she's talking about the other superheroes and how men are kind of all the same, and pigs and whatever, and but that's really not the experience that she's having. Not everyone is like that. There's good people on the Earth, and Dr. Manhattan is like, I can just rebuild humanity on Mars. I can just start over. Don't you want to help me? We cut back again to Laurie telling Dr. Manhattan the first time that she ever saw him. She was with her mom, and she had met the comedian also for the first time, and they're sharing a cigarette. And her mom comes and says, absolutely not. Get in the car. We're going home. Don't you ever kind of touch my daughter again. And Laurie knew what's happened to her mom, but still it doesn't matter. She wants to save people. She wants to save the world. And even, years before, before the comedian even died, her mom and comedian always would bump heads everywhere they went, and Laurie has all these good memories and doesn't want anything to happen to Earth, and how does Dr. Manhattan put it? No thermodynamic miracles. No thermodynamic miracles. So finally, Dr. Manhattan says, fine, you're right. If you want to save the Earth, you want to save humanity, let's go for it. We can do it. And I really like this scene here. So, like, here I don't know why I'm pointing, like you guys can see what I'm pointing at, but this little pile of rubble here. As we zoom out, we see it's on this face, on Mars, it's a happy face, and Dr. Manhattan says, okay, dry your eyes and let's go home. And my quote for the end of the issue is, as far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being, by C.G. Young Memory Dreams Reflections. I don't know who that is. But yeah, that's the issue.
Okay, so discussions about where we're at in this phase of the Watchmen saga.
This is probably like one of DC's classiest classic stories. And you can see, if you've seen the movie, where these scenes were really inspired from. It seems as if Snyder really pulled.
Oh, he ripped it right out of the comic.
Right out of the book. You know what I mean? And made it into the movie. And it's beautiful. And then another thing I got to give credit to the movie is like the cast was so good. I can't help but like when I read their lines, I hear their voice in my head.
Oh yeah.
The cast was an absolute home run. Jeffrey Dean Morgan as a comedian, I can't imagine anybody else playing that role.
Yeah.
And he's a jerk, and that's great because it fits.
So is I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Are you guys saying that Watchmen is the best thing Snyder did in his association with DC?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Not that I dislike the Snyderverse. I love the Snyderverse, but I mean, this is leaps and bounds better because I feel Zach had to squish it all into here. He didn't have all this space to play with. So he picked the best scenes out of these books, and made it a movie.
Yeah. I love this part of the story because we're finally up until now, we kind of got the backstory, the build up, trying to understand who these characters were. We've also got this plot of, Rorschach thinking that somebody's taking out the superheroes. And now we're at the point where they're starting to rebuild the team. I mean, breaking out for Rorschach, that was so cool. Your issue, especially, Lasso, I love that one. Just Rorschach, just in that jail cell. They're coming in to get him, and he's just like sitting there, all relaxed, like I got this.
Who thinks to electrocute someone with toilet water?
Right?
That's a good scene in the movie too. That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Yep. Yeah, and then he has to stop I got to go to use the bathroom first, right? Like, oh man.
That's too funny.
Hey, George stopped by D-Runk Comics. Good evening to you.
Hey, long time no see.
All right, cool. So we're going to be wrapping it all up next week on our next show then for the Watchmen series.
Yeah, we're going to learn the mystery of this superhero killer and who's all behind it.
Okay. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. Now the backup story, we've been kind of skipping over that because that does get confusing, especially when you're like reading it. There's like on each panel, there's like two stories going on at any time, and you've got to kind of like keep the one in the back of your head.
Is that why I'm not understanding some stuff?
Yeah. All the stuff in that
goes on after our story ends. Yeah,
that's the kid at the newsstand reading the comic book.
Okay, but I guess every once in a blue moon they slip a little bit of that into the main story.
I guess, yeah. I mean, there's like parallels to it and all. I mean, it's operating on multiple levels. So it takes a few reads, and it's been so long now I don't even recall it all. But yeah, that's why in the movie they split that up into 2 features. So not to confuse the audience. But,
so I will tell you that on I'll actually tease a little bit ahead to next week's show. For the book show portion next week, I actually will have something Watchmen related.
Ooh.
I will. I mean, I already have it now, but I've been purposely saving it to the last episode of our retro review.
Okay.
So that having been said, as we segue into the book show portion, I'm just going to go first. I thought one of DC Comics' best reads that came out this week was the new issue of Wonder Woman. Here is the 1 in 25 incentive virgin variant of the main cover. And I always thought this cover was awesome. Daniel Sampier, who does the interior art, did this cover art too. A lot of people have been loving, the Tom King Wonder Woman story. But out of all of the issues they've done so far, this one has been my favorite. And if you are a Wonder Woman Steve Trevor fan and like the two of them together as a couple, then this will be an issue that you really will enjoy. I haven't been the biggest fan of the Trinity backup series, but I even like the Trinity story in this one too. So this book came out this past week and was definitely a winner for me. And it looks like we got Malo Cup stopping by. Have you been lost in space?
Just a little.
Just a little. Let me tell you what's coming up, or what is on my channel and what's coming up, since we're at that segment or this portion of Fanboys Live. So on my channel this past week was my back issue of the week YouTube short, and that was on Dead Man. And it was a Dead Man comic book that would have been showcase number 105 had showcase not been canceled with issue 104. So this story took place in an adventure comic, and I talk a little bit about that and what the story's about in the back issue of the week. That's already on my channel. I did a comic book editions video where I showed just a couple comic books, some bronze DC, but then I did these unbaggings of these DC Comics Ushis. And you can see which characters I got in the unbaggings. And I had a lot of fun with the unbaggings. And they got a lot of interesting characters to choose from in this wave.
Is it candy? Is that some kind of candy?
No, it's not candy. They're pencil toppers.
Pencil toppers. Okay.
Yeah. So this wave I found at Walmart in the clearance bin. So these were normally $3 a bag. I got them for 75 cents a bag. So that's why I bought a bunch of bags, just for the funsies of it. And so I did those Ushi unboxings and then showed a couple comic books and the video that's already on my channel. This upcoming week on my channel, there's the back issue of the week YouTube short, which will drop tomorrow, which has not even been recorded yet. So that's something your boy needs to work on yet tonight. And I do have my comic book editions video scheduled for Tuesday, which will be oddities and rarities that I've added into my collection. So maybe some not necessarily expensive comic books, but some stuff that you just don't see or don't think about looking for, perhaps. Or just some stuff that I found that's a little bit odd, a little bit different, but still kind of falls into my collecting niche. And that's what I'm sharing in the video dropping this Tuesday. So that's what's going on in my channel. It's Section 8,
Tony.
It is.
I don't know about that. Who would like to go next for a book show?
I can go next.
Okay.
So I was gonna show this last time, but I had to leave a little early. This is the latest McFarlane toy I had delivered. I must have pre-ordered it. This is the Green Lantern JLA version of John Stewart, and you can see the legs there. That's Plastic Man.
Oh, okay. So so Plastic
figure.
Man. Okay, gotcha.
It's Build-A-Figure then.
It's Build-A-Figure, yeah.
Yeah.
I was confused. Okay, so you got John Stewart, but they gave him the wrong color leg. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you now. Makes way more sense.
So who's all in that wave? It looks like Superman, Batman,
and Aquaman, and John
Aquaman.
Stewart.
Okay, and then John Stewart, and then you can all build Plastic Man with that wave.
There you go.
But you got to open it.
No.
You should get two. You should get two.
when they did Build-A-Figure several years ago, I mean, this was a long time ago, for Giganta, which was the biggest Build-A-Figure they've ever done. Instead of buying the figures, because I wanted Giganta, and you can't just buy Giganta, you know? I just bought the pieces off of eBay.
Right.
And then built my own Giganta. I remember at one point, I'm like, a torso, I need a torso! So, what's D-Ronk saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The kids now have all the cool toys.
Yep.
I tell you what, those figures, they always look cool. They really do, but I'm glad that bug never bit me.
There's one keyword there, Tony. Yet.
Yes.
Yeah, I only have the one figure, and that's what Dave sent me. And that's it. I got nothing else. I've been tempted a couple times, like, man, this would be really cool. But
hey, I'm telling you, one of the rarest superpowers action figures out there is the Shazam. You got to look for that one.
If I see it, I'll snag it, but I think that's as far as I'm willing to go. But my book show is semi Watchmen related. Here we have Dark Crisis #1, signed by Philip Kennedy Johnson with Ozymandias on the cover, on his throne of comic books. Always thought that was a really neat cover.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Nice.
But yeah, on the channel last week, we had a short unexpectedly take off to like 16,000. And I only got one sub out of it after losing like 2 or 3. It was really funny. But I think now I'm in the doghouse like Lasso was when he had a short takeoff very similarly in views, and now YouTube like pulls you out of reality.
They punish you.
Yeah. So
hey D, we were talking about this last week in the news. There's going to be a variant cover for a Superpowers Gold Superman comic book coming out, I think, in August. So you'll have to get that to go with your figure that you got. So
very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we on my channel, it's just shorts coming up. I have my CBCS submission still pending, so hopefully that comes back very soon. That was the largest one to this date I've submitted, so it's like 8 or 9 books all coming back.
Will you check the grades ahead of time, or will you be surprised?
I'll be surprised. I mean, at least I'll try not to. I mean, I have a theory about some of them, but you know, I'm terrible at guessing. But yeah, we'll see. Looking forward to it. So that should be coming up soon.
Nice. Well, cool. Well, there's links for everyone's channel in the description to this video. If you're not subbed up, please sub up and sub everyone up in the chat as well. Keep building and growing our awesome comic book family community. And even, that Tim the Comic Collector, I think there's still a link for him in there. Well, you know, I think that's still, it's just the hope that maybe one day he would show up again.
One day.
What do you think the odds are that Tim will be on a show before this year's over with?
0.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they could come out with like a one of those Nightwing butt covers again. I think that would draw him back.
Nightwing butt cover?
Well, now he's Trainer Tim. He's not Comic Tim. He's Trainer Tim.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. If DC does a Pokemon, then he'll be.
Oh yeah, he's all manga now.
Yeah. He jumped hobbies. Maybe he's the smart one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I read my books in one direction and one direction only.
Yeah. Right?
So, well,
when you can buy them.
Yes, when I can buy them. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of the Greatest DC Comics Show on YouTube. If you joined us in the live chat, we appreciate it. If you watched on the rewind and made it all the way to the end, why didn't you have something better to do? No, seriously, thanks for spending some time with us. We'll wrap up our retro review of the Watchmen 12-issue miniseries next week. So that's planned, and we look forward to visiting with you then. Until then, enjoy the rest of your extended weekend. Thanks for being with us, and take care. Anything else you guys want to say?
Peace.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.